We live in the most connected era in human history, yet we are suffering from an epidemic of loneliness. We are surrounded by digital voices, constant notifications, and endless social streams. Yet many of us feel a deep, aching sense of being misunderstood and disconnected. We fear the silence of an empty room. We dread the moment our phone battery dies. Why? Because we have forgotten the ancient distinction between two very different states of being. Loneliness, which is a prison, and solitude, which is a palace. There was once a man named Silas, a successful consultant whose life was a whirlwind of meetings and social gatherings. Silas was never alone, yet he was desperately lonely. He believed that the only way to feel alive was to be reflected in the eyes of others. When he was by himself, he felt a terrifying void opening up inside him. To escape this, he filled every second with noise, podcasts while he showered, television while he ate, and endless messaging before he slept. He was running from a ghost, and that ghost was his own shadow. One winter, Silas found himself stranded in a small, quiet village due to a heavy snowstorm. The power went out and his phone died. For the first time in years, he was faced with absolute, unfiltered silence. Panic set in. He felt like he was disappearing. In the middle of this crisis, he visited the village's only resident of note, an old philosopher named Julian, who lived in a house filled only with books and the crackling of a fireplace. "I can't breathe," Silas confessed, his voice tight. "The silence is too loud. I feel like I am nothing if there is no one here to see me." Julian poured 2 cups of tea and looked at Silas with a gaze that was both sharp and kind. "You are experiencing loneliness, Silas. Loneliness is the poverty of self. It is the belief that you are incomplete without an external audience. You feel like a beggar waiting for someone to drop a coin of attention into your bowl. But look at this room. I am alone, but I am not lonely. I am in solitude." "What is the difference?" Silas asked. "Loneliness is a hunger for others," Julian replied. "Solitude is a feast for the self. Loneliness is something that happens to you when you are disconnected from people. Solitude is something you choose for yourself to connect with the universe. In loneliness, you are a victim of your own emptiness. In solitude, you are the king of your own autonomous kingdom. You are not alone. You are in communion with your own soul. This is the secret that the great thinkers of history, from Nietzsche to the Stoics, have always known. Nietzsche once said, "Solitude is my home." He didn't mean he hated people. He meant that it was only in the stillness of his own mind that he could hear the truth. When we are always with others, we are actually living, at the surface. We are performing, adapting, and reacting. We are wearing masks to please the world, but in solitude, the masks fall away. To move from loneliness to solitude, you must begin the practice of introspection. You must stop looking at silence as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher. When Silas returned to his home, he didn't go back to his old habits. He began to dedicate 1 hour a day to unplugged existence. At first, it was painful. He felt the itch of the yearning to check his notifications, but he stayed still. He began to observe his thoughts without judging them. He began to rediscover the things he loved, not because they made him look good to others, but because they brought joy to his own heart. He found that the more he befriended himself, the less he needed the validation of the world. The cure for loneliness is not more people. The cure for loneliness is solitude. When you are comfortable with your own company, you no longer enter relationships out of desperation. You enter them out of choice. You no longer need others to fill you. You share your abundance with them. Think of your mind as a garden. If you never spend time there, the weeds of anxiety and the thorns of doubt will take over. You will be afraid to enter. But if you spend time there every day, watering your ideas, pruning your fears, and sitting in the shade of your own wisdom, the garden becomes a sanctuary. You will find that you no longer fear being alone. In fact, you will cherish it. Tonight, I want you to try something simple. Turn off the noise. Set aside the phone. Sit in a chair for just 10 minutes. Don't try to solve your problems. Just be there. Feel the breath in your lungs. Listen to the rhythm of your own heart. At first, you may feel the ghost of loneliness. But stay still. Wait slowly. The loneliness will transform. The void will begin to fill with the light of your own presence. You will realize that you are the most interesting person you will ever meet. Solitude is the place where you find your power. It is where you find your voice. It is where you find the truth of who you are. Stop being a beggar for attention. Start being the master of your own silence.